Bore da, croeso I cyfarfod, diolch I chi gyd am ddod. Agenda item number 1, apologies for absence. We don't have any. All members are here. Declarations of interest. Members are reminded of their personal responsibility to declare any personal or prejudicial interest in respect of matters contained in this agenda in accordance with the provisions of the Local Government and Finance Act 1992 relating to Council Tax, to Local Government Act 2000 and the Council's Constitution and the Members' Code of Conduct. Has anyone got any declarations of interest? Thank you very much. Before we go on to agenda item number 3, we'll just introduce each other, if that's okay. I'm Councillor Declan Sam, and I'm the chair of the licensing committee.
I'm Clive Tevy, the councillor for Vane Award.
I'm Malcolm Colbrand. I'm councillor for Bedlington Ward.
Simon Jones, I'm a solicitor for the council, and I'm here to advise the committee. I don't make the decision. I just here to give them assistance if needed.
Steve Bowles, the South Wales Police Licensing Department.
Mark Herbert, I'm a licensing officer.
Is the site manager at Traeger.
Tony Baxter, Group Caterer Manager for Traeger.
Moore, neighbour.
Alan Moore, neighbour.
Thank you very much, everyone, and welcome today. I'm going to pass on to Simon first, because he's going to explain how this works and the procedure before we go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I think in this case, Mr. and Mrs. Moore have been here before, so you kind of know how this works. And I know Mr. Baxter's been here before. Right, but essentially what we've got here, we've got an application today for an amendment to the current licence for Traeger Mills. Matthew, the licensing officer, will outline the report. What he's producing is factual, but any questions you have of Matthew after his report, then we'll ask those questions then. We'll then pass on to South Wales Police to see if they have anything further to say beyond what they've already said in their written representations. Again, any questions you have of South Wales Police, we'll do that at that point. We'll then hand over to Mr. and Mrs. Moore, and they can explain their concerns about this amendment. Again, questions of Mr. and Mrs. Moore, and then finally over to you guys then to say why you think your application is acceptable, and if any concerns relayed, how you want to address those at that point. Then once that's finished, I'll stay behind with the committee, and we will come to a decision today, but we won't send that decision out until we've got properly formulated reasons, and then they'll be sent out. Okay, so we have to do that within 5 days of today's hearing. We will make the decision today, but you won't know about it until within the next 5 days. Okay, so Chair, I don't think there's anything more I need to say.
Oh, lovely. Thank you very much, Simon. Agenda item number 3 is the application to vary a premises licence, Traeger Mills Merthyr Limited, Swansea Road, Merthyr Table, CF481HT. I'm going to pass over to Matthew Herbert, who's going to go through the report.
Thank you, Chair. So, this report is in relation to an application to vary the premises licence at Traeger Mills, Swansea Road, Merthyr Tydfil. The application proposes to extend hours for the sale of alcohol, live music, and the opening hours. Full details of the proposed licensable activities and hours are outlined in section 3.2 of the report, and a copy of the full application form can be seen in Appendix A. The current permitted licensable activities and timings can be found in section 3.4 of the report. The current premises licence was granted by Licensing Subcommittee in March 2018, subject to conditions. A copy of the determination notice can be found at Appendix B of the report. The licensing authority have not received any complaints in relation to this premises since the original licence was issued. During the statutory consultation period, a letter of objection was received from local residents, which can be found within Appendix D. South Wales Police also submitted representations, which can be found within Appendix C of the report. As the result of mediation, the applicant has amended the application to include all conditions requested by South Wales Police. The email of agreement is attached as Appendix E. Therefore, South Wales Police have no objections to the licence being granted on this basis. In determining the application, councillors must have regard to the 4 licensing objectives and have consideration to the representation submitted. Members must take such steps as they consider appropriate for the promotional licensing objectives. The steps which members can take are outlined in section 2.1 of the report.
Lovely, thank you, Matthew. I'm going to pass over to South Wales Police representative.
Good morning, Chair, Committee and all parties present. I'm here representing South Wales Police in regard to the application for variation of the premises licence of Trago Mills, Unit 1, Swansea Road, Merthyr. I can confirm that I've attended the site and spoke with the store manager, Richard Mears, to discuss the premises licence and the variation. I did this along accompanied by Garin Eldrin from Merthyr County Borough Council. So upon speaking with Richard, all areas were discussed regarding the variation, the hours of extension, etc., and future events that could potentially occur at the premises. I am confident from what we've discussed, all areas of the licence which incorporate the 4 licensing objectives would be adhered to. So as a result, South Wales Police have got no objections in regards to the application.
Thank you very much. If I hand over to Mr. and Mrs. Moore. Oh, sorry.
South Wales Police. At this stage, or do you want to do it in your submission?
Has it gone on yet, Matthew? Lovely. Sorry, Mr. Moore.
Right. Right. Sorry. If you on about the crime and disorder, if you come up to the Gerrig side of the site, which is the path from the zebra crossing on the site, you see a path coming up. That is never monitored. The gate has been damaged over and over. There's graffiti all over it. They've had to fix the fence over and over again. As I would say, they're over 18, a lot of them climbing over it, but there's children climbing over it, and you're talking of 7-year-old. So there's got to be some sort of disorder there, safety-wise as well.
Totally sort of appreciate the impact that antisocial behaviour has on residents at Heel Gerrig. However, I conducted a search of South Wales Police information systems from the present day until the 31st of August 2020, and there's been all but minimal reports of any sort of antisocial behaviour that's occurred at the site.
May I speak? The thing is, since Trago been in out lately, my fence have been pulled down with people coming through. There's stones being thrown around there. Parking when there's events on there is blocking the lane up. Any emergency vehicles will not get down there. I know I haven't reported these ones to you because I've had problems with parking before, and the police they don't do nothing. There's nothing being done about it at all, and you can see it's been reported.
In relation to the traffic management, that would be managed by the site, not South Wales Police. I appreciate, in past events, there has been a backlog of sort of traffic on the A470. In relation to damage to property, was that reported to South Wales Police?
Well, is it worth reporting it because they don't come up? You never see a police officer up there. You might now and again see one of the the lower ones, the like BCS or so on. Sorry.
I can understand your frustrations with youths and damage, etc. But unless it's reported to the police, we have no record or can facilitate any officers attending to carry out any investigations. Like I've said, sort of we carry out an extensive trawl of our systems for the past 3 years, and there's been perhaps one incident of ASB regarding youths, but that's no direct link to Trago premises as a whole.
Can I speak a minute? The other day, there was a young girl, they were about 8 or 9, nearly impaled on top of that gate. Myself and my daughter tried, to get them down, but she had nothing but abuse off this young girl. But you are going to have somebody going to have a nasty accident there with the type of gate and fencing you got there. So did you not see that on the cameras?
John, at this stage?
Yeah, I mean, I've been there 5 years. All maintenance and all issues on site are reported to me because I run the site. I've never once had, that I can think of, other than a lock being glued on the gate by somebody, any damage to the fence that I've needed to repair. We've cleared the pathway is probably about as far as we've gone in terms of maintenance, and in terms of report of damage or further on from that, I've had nothing at all, much the same as the police in that respect.
I've got to say, the repair you've done on the gate is rubbish. That's all you've done is made a ladder for them. You've put bars across and it's a ladder to help them up over. If you go and check it, it's worse now. It gives them easier access and to get out to the site as well.
Again, I mean, I'll go back to your previous comments about the site, the gate not being checked. It's locked and opened every single day. So there's somebody seeing that gate every single day. So if there was an issue with it, it would be reported back to me to resolve. I think I can understand what you mean with regards to the repair. Certainly never been reported to me before today. The reason the barrier was put there was to stop access to the lock because somebody thought it'd be quite amusing to pop some super glue in there pretty much every night, unfortunately. So it was the only way of stopping access to that lock.
I haven't at this time.
No, I've
No.
not said it.
Okay. If I pass over to the representatives of Trago Mills.
Anything you want to say as well? Yeah, okay.
About CTV cameras, so why didn't they see those girls that day then? So have you got footage of that?
Have a look. It's not something that we'd have constant monitoring of at that point.
With the longer licensing hours now, there will be some people who will abuse it. If they come up through the Ilgerig site, from where the road finishes to the site, in the winter time, it's atrocious there. It's uneven, it's wet, mucky. Somebody's going to fall there and nobody's going to find them until the morning. There's going to be a broken leg or something. It's a really dangerous spot. And if there's somebody drinking there, it's going to be detrimental to them. Tell that now, they will be there all night. It's where the road ends, where the council seems to say their responsibility finishes.
Yeah.
Then there's about another 10, 20 yards, I expect, and not great on distances.
Yeah.
That is it's a mud bath in the winter. Summertime and weather like this, it's great. It's uneven, but it's hard enough to walk on. But in the winter time, it's just a mud bath. And somebody will be getting hurt if they drink and going up and down there.
Mr. Moore, I'm unsure. If I was coming in the front gate of Trago's and then you come to the roundabout, do you mean the area up to the right?
You'll see a zebra crossing. But basically where they build in that non-existent pond, there's a zebra crossing, there's a path going up.
To Ilgerig.
To Ilgerig, there's a small gate in on top. That's on the Ilgerig side, yes.
Is the gate open or?
And Mr. Moore is absolutely right. I have spoken to the council because I don't believe the land that Mr. Moore's talking about is owned by us. So everything owned by us is tarmacked as a proper footpath. And after that, I believe it's council owned. I have approached to find out if there's anything that can be done to make that access better. I mean, not just talking about somebody that's been drinking, disabled access, parents with children, prams and stuff like that. It'd be a lot easier for them to gain access if that was a proper tarmacked area. And that's an ongoing conversation of something I'm sure we'd be prepared to probably fund match or something like that to get that area sorted so it was safer. Probably easier if I clarify now for you. I've no intention on having that gate open during events. It simply creates another point of entry and another point of exit that we'd have to manage in terms of security. For me, it'd be far easier just to have that one main entrance and exit through our front gate that we manage and look after, and that should negate any issues that Mr. Moore's talking about at this point.
You to have a look at some of the concerns they have about the construction of that gate.
Absolutely, as I say before today, it hasn't been reported to me. I try and outdone everything that's reported to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely, I'll pop back today and have a look and see if we can do anything about it. I can't do anything about the palisade aspect of it. It is made to keep people out. It's a gate of that very nature, as is the fence line that extends around the property. And there has to be an element of common sense that we need to keep people out of there, and we need to make it more difficult to access. Otherwise, you are going to have more people trying to use that as a route outside of opening hours and as an entry point. The very fact it has spikes on there, it is what it is. It's made to keep people out.
Okay. Yep.
It's got to be policed a bit better then. And not only that, the metal sheeting you put on the gate, that is dangerous. Because if you rub your hand around the edge of that, the way you've cut it, it's like a saw. Somebody will be cutting their hands off. And I know, maybe some laugh will cut their hands off, but it's that sharp. They'll go through their fingers easy.
Today, and I've not had an issue in probably 3 or 4 years with anyone cutting themselves on it, but I'm perfectly happy to go back and have a look at it and see if we can do something different. No issue at all.
Chair, I think what you'll remember here is this is an application to amend some licensing hours. Those are no doubt genuine concerns. I don't think that the committee would say anything different. So I'm not sure if that's something we can actually take into account, because what we have to look at is what they're asking for today going to make things such that they conflict with the licensing principles. So I think the offer you had there from Trago to meet with you so you can express your concerns about that particular matter, I think that's probably the way forward in relation to that, Chair. But right, yeah.
If people are drinking, they're more likely to climb over, and then they're more likely to fall because they're incoherent on things. That I mean, 1 pint and you could be over the limit and driving. So what are you going to do if you climb up there?
I'm going to hand over to Trago representatives. If you want to come back and ask some questions after, it's no problem.
I would just like to point out, first of all, that there is no intention to change the opening hours of the shop. The shop will close at 6 o'clock. The site on occasions may stay open to 10:30, but the shop will close at 6 o'clock. The price point that we sell alcohol makes it uneconomical for somebody to come to Trago to drink seriously.
Just give it a second.
Well, that's a relief. Our price point makes drinking at Trago not a social occasion. We provide alcohol primarily to accompany food that people buy in our restaurants and occasionally outside when we have some form of event. We have had no instances of drunken people on that site in the entire time that we've had our license. There is no instance in the refusals register. There is no instance in our log for calling the police. In fact, we have not called the police once for an alcohol-related crime or offence on our site. At this moment in time, there will be virtually no changes to what we currently do. We would just like the option that when we do have an event on in the evening, that we are able to sell alcohol and nothing more. We are not looking to increase the live music, which is few and far between. Mostly that takes place in the bandstand. And the only difference to that is 1.5 hours on a Sunday. The drinking licensing time is purely to help us when we have events, because we've had customers asking for us, but we've had to stop selling alcohol at 6 o'clock on a Saturday night because that's when our license can. So I personally do not see that there will be any changes to what we already do. There are no unaccompanied children coming to the site. There are not hordes of drunken kids running around our site, then going up to the footpath to cause problems. If there are problems from children, they are coming from outside of our site and not being caused from within our site.
Right. Yes, there is. You're saying there's no children going in there, right? They are. They're climbing over the fence. Unless you police that fence properly on when you got the events, you've got to consider they going in there. Because we've seen them climbing them.
The point at where we sell most of our alcohol is our cafe. Our cafe is under constant 24-hour CCTV coverage, and there are no instances in that cafe of children being in there without their parents. We would not allow youths in that cafe. We don't allow unaccompanied children on their own. Okay, it is a family restaurant. The last thing we want is unruly children, young adults in there causing problem to our customers.
Right, but I gotta say, the cafe's not the site, is it? You can't consider the cafe as just it. You got to take the whole site in consideration.
No, Mr. Moore, I completely understand what you're saying. But again, it's the first time today that I've been made aware of this. It's not something that I've come across from any reports from my night security guards. Bearing in mind, we do have 24-hour security on site. I've not had issue with cars being, broken into or scratched or antisocial behaviour in the car parks. That, to my knowledge, I spend 5 days a week, well, pretty much 7 days a week sometimes at the site, and I'm there during our opening hours and after. And I've never come across that. I've got teams on site till 10 o'clock at night. And again, no reports of children in the car park. So, I mean, if you're local to that area and you're able to assist us, then we'll act upon any reports that you can give us, and we'll do our best to stop it. But unless we're made aware or we see it ourselves, there's not really much I can do with hindsight, unfortunately. We can only look to change it in the future for you, which I'm more than happy to do.
Are the children gaining access all throughout the day, or is it just at certain times?
Mainly it's after school, because we got a field opposite us where there's a couple of swings over there. But then they drift in from there over to the site. And there's lots of kids there, believe me. I don't mind the kids playing, they're out of the way, they're in the field. But it's their safety I'm thinking of.
Yes, but they're not going to the site for alcohol, are they? I think
Well,
what he's saying is they're no,
Definitely not.
no. Okay.
Members, do you have any questions? No. Comments? Or was it
Comprehensive report, really, and we've explored everything.
Want to say to wrap this up, because I know we've been doing this hearing by people commenting as we go along, and that I think that makes sense. But is there anything you specifically want to say? You've already said you're not going to be changing your operating model. It's going to be essentially the same thing. You're just going to give you the opportunity, should you wish to extend those hours.
I think that's hit the nail on the head. We're not looking to change what we already do. We're just looking to be able to provide a service whilst we're doing what we already do.
Old report, the first report you done. Conditions number 1, number of days used for the outdoor musical entertainment in any one calendar year limited to 12, with no more than 3 such days being consecutive. Now, this year and last year, for about 2 to 3 months, we had the Winter Wonderland down there. Music blaring all day. Now, I mean, my wife works nights, my boy works from home. It's impossible to do anything. Are they going to have the Winter Wonderland back there?
Chair, just to clarify on that point. So the music that was part of the Winter Wonderland was incidental. It wouldn't come and fall under that condition. So there was no breach of condition for that. It was incidental music that is unlicensable activity. So that does fall outside of that condition.
Joe, if residents have got concerns in regards to how loud music is, they can bring this up with environmental health.
Yeah, that's correct. So even though it's incidental music, the Winter Wonderland activity, regardless of whether it's licensable or not, if local residents have any issues with noise pollution, then they can report that to public health. And regardless of whether it's licensable or not, public health can look at that separately from licensing.
Chair, what we've got a condition on our on this license to say that if it's if the noise is 15 decibels above background, then there needs to be immediate action to reduce the volume. Now, I suppose you don't have noise monitoring equipment on the site at that point, do you? No. So I think it would have to be coming from residents. Now, I'm not sure whether or not Merthyr, and I think that Merthyr do, they have an app that you can put on your phone to monitor noise. Have you been aware of this? Right, it used to be the case we'd have to put noise monitoring equipment into your home, but I think what public health will do now is, you know, they'd say if you're experiencing what you consider to be unreasonable noise, you go onto your app and you record it. Right, it's not good enough. That's not sufficient evidence for a prosecution or anything. They need to get the full works into your house, but it would be enough for public health to speak to Traeger and say, well, whatever you were doing last Saturday, that is too loud, right? And then you'd have to then say, okay, let's say it was on 5, we'll make sure it's on 4 next day. You know what I mean? So I think it's about processes involved here. So I think what you need to be doing, if you have concerns about the noise, and you mentioned you're working nights, etc., and your son, I think we need to get that app put onto your telephone so you can record that in the first instance, because the best way of dealing with these things is, of course, by discussion and negotiation, not forcing people to do things. When you force somebody to do something, then it's not always the best way. So, Chair, not sure if I need to say anything more on that.
I've got to say, even if I haven't got the app, you know it's over, because a 15 decibel is a whisper. That's all it is. It's a whisper over normal noise. That's all we get in the house is boom, 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 boom. No, you got the beat of the music going. It's awful.
So I think at some point that may be the way forward. Okay.
There's nobody else here. But where they say they got no near neighbours, they got neighbours right round them all up Ilgerig. So that's an untruth, that is. So I don't know.
Can I just clarify with the police and the licensing department that there's been no complaints to you guys in regards to licensable activities?
Okay.
Yes, correct.
I understand there may have been complaints. Have you complained to public health about it? Okay, all right.
I have complained to my local councillor, Geraint Thomas, and he assured me that the Winter Wonderland won't be there next year.
Okay.
As he told me.
Okay, well, I
if
don't
it's
know.
the truth or not, I don't know, but I was told that it should go to town.
Chair, I think that in relation to noise, I mean, I know people are reluctant to complain sometimes because you think what can be done, but unfortunately for regulatory, the police, public health, and this committee, we do look for evidence. So even though you think, oh, should I bother them? I think you've got to. Now, licensing, even if the application is granted today, doesn't mean that if you're experiencing problems, there's no way back. Now, the last time we were in on this was about 3 years ago, wasn't it? Was it 3 years ago? Yeah. And now we're back here now, 3 years' time, simply. 5 years ago, yeah. So we're back here now purely because of this application. Had this application not been made today, then we would just continue. You would continue to be suffering these issues and nobody would be aware of them. So I think it is important if you have issues, you have to report it to licensing, the police if it's a crime or a disorder, and to public health if it's noise. Okay, so and if there's evidence of issues, we can bring it back. Okay. But I don't want to say any more of that, Chair, because I think we need to discuss our position.
I just want to come in a sec. Can I ask a question, Mr. Moore? Do you attend pact meetings for the ward? No. Okay. I was just thinking along the lines of what Simon has said is that if you've got issues, you could normally local councillors would be there because it's partners and communities together. The police would be there, councillors would be there, and it's something, if you have an issue, that you can raise it with the police and your councillors there, and they should then pass it on to the police licensing and maybe Trago themselves. I've got no other comments.
But Chair, if that's it, I think everyone's had their chance to express their concerns and there's been responses from Trago. We'll ask everyone to leave now and to go. I'll stay back with the committee until we reach a decision, and then I'll put that decision into a written decision. I'll send it out to all parties, and you can see what that decision is then. But we'll do that within the next 5 days. Okay? Thank you, Chair. Chair, do you want to finish the meeting at this stage?
No. Lovely. Agenda item number 4, any other business deemed urgent by the chair? I have none. And I now formally declare this meeting closed.